Hello, everyone. Welcome to this new episode of CCIR Student Spotlight. With me today is Atharva Tyagi, a current student at the Woodbridge Academy Magnet School in Edison, New Jersey. During his time at CCIR, Atharva took the developmental biology course with Dr. Hakan Özkan from the University of Harvard. And for his project at CCIR, Atharva worked on a project centered around recent advances in cell biology with respect to cancer treatment. So it's my pleasure to introduce Atharva. Atharva, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
Good. So Atharva, let's begin by just getting you to quickly introduce yourself,
Sure.
say a little bit about who you are and where you come from.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Atharva Tyagi. I am 15 years old and I'm a freshman at Woodbridge Academy Magnet School. I live in Edison, New Jersey. And in my free time, I like to do things such as reading, riding bikes. I'm also into martial arts. I've been doing Taekwondo, which is a Korean martial art, for the past 11 years, in which I'm a 4th degree black belt. I also like playing basketball. Basketball is something very fun to me. And I also like to read a lot in my free time. And this passion of reading, especially in 7th grade when we had COVID and lockdown, led me to venture into the world of science. And now venturing into the world of science, I stumbled upon cancer research, stem cell research, model organisms, which was huge topics for me at the 7th time being a 7th grader. So now, as in the summer of 8th grade, I applied to CCIR, which has been a great decision for me, as now I've been able to explore my passion of developmental biology, which is stem cells, model organisms, epigenetics, cell biology. And in this course, I was really able to fully venture into these topics.
So why don't you tell me a little bit first, Atharva, about how you got interested in these areas? It's fairly uncommon for a 7th grader to be suddenly interested in developmental biology, but if you can just tell me a little bit more about your journey here.
Sure. So as I mentioned before, 7th grade, started reading science. COVID was there, right? So you have vaccines all over the news and you have these viruses all over the news and you're overwhelmed with all the viruses, CNN and Fox saying those news things. Now in 8th grade, I applied to the magnet school. You have to apply to there. I don't get into there. So in the application, this is a science-oriented school in which freshman year, I take AP biology. And so as I was preparing for AP biology, I stumbled upon in my textbook about cell biology, what cells are. And then that really piqued my interest. So in my free time, I started doing external reading on cell biology and cancer and the cell cycle and things like that. And so really I went down this rabbit hole of developmental biology and I really felt intense passion for developmental biology. And so I wanted to pursue this somehow and CCIR was there.
For those of us who are less familiar with these fields, can you just give a quick description of what the field of developmental biology is concerned with?
Sure. So developmental biology has to do with the different aspects of cells and signaling, cell compartmentalization, which is basically, you can say all the parts of the cells, how cells can develop. And as a scientist, how we can take advantage of different mechanisms that the cell have to treat certain diseases, to get further research, to enlighten ourselves, to learn more things that we never knew before. And it is one of the, I would say, very hot topics right now because regeneration, things like metamorphosis, very interesting topics are in developmental biology.
Yeah, especially with regards to stem cells. So that's definitely something that most people will have heard about. Can you tell me a little bit about maybe something like the way in which Dr. Koskan took you guys through this emerging field?
Right. So again, this emerging field, there is a lot of science and new science terms, big science words that can overwhelm someone. So Dr. Khan, who by the way is an amazing teacher, he took it step by step. First, we explained what stem cells were, and which is basically stem cells are cells that are undifferentiated or partially differentiated And basically they can differentiate into different types of cells. So like skin cells or nerve cells, etc. So once we understood the basics for what stem cells were, he took a step further, explaining some cellular mechanisms associated with stem cells and different types of stem cells. After that, we also learned about model organisms. And so model organisms, organisms that are commonly used in the lab. That was also a very interesting topic we learned with Dr. Hakan. After that, we also learned about epigenetics, which includes DNA methylation and things like that, which is all used in the regulations of gene expression and the modifications of gene expression, rather. And it is also a hot topic and a hot field. And so the way Dr. Hakan structured his lessons were he would present us with a very basic information at first so that all of us have a baseline understanding. And then very slowly and very cleverly, he used to explain us these very complicated topics to a point where even anyone could understand these topics. And so that was the class with Dr. Hakan, and our TA, teaching assistant. We used to go over this material again to make sure we have a deep understanding of the material, ensuring that we fully learn topics with Dr. Hakan.
And one thing I guess I'm curious about, given that these are such hot topics and emerging fields, is I imagine there's a lot of myth and hoo-ha about stem cells that that through this course you also was able to sort of understand and figure out. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Sort of what are the realities, the scientific realities on the ground of what these technologies promise to do in the future?
Right. So as of right now, stem cells are used in a wide variety of ways, mainly because stem cells can differentiate into different types of cells, so they can have different uses. To summarize, the main usage of stem cells are to treat diseases. So for example, cancer, stem cells that can be used in cancer. They can also be used in, say, autism. So they can also be used in, say, skin disease-related diseases. So there's a wide application of stem cells. And the more and more research that is done into stem cells is a step closer to curing or effectively treating these diseases. And as you correctly mentioned, the hoo-ha and stem cells, this wonder, there is a science behind it. The science needs to be further researched and explored, but stem cells definitely have a huge potential to treat various diseases.
And maybe this is a good point of transitioning to your specific topic, which looked at cancer. So maybe the first thing to ask here is, how did you end up settling on this particular topic as your research project?
Right. So as I was learning the specifics during this course on stem cells, as I just previously mentioned, to me, it's a really hot topic. There's a wide application of stem cells. And so as a freshman, I want to venture into different worlds of science in order to expose myself to those worlds and fully understand, or try to my best to fully understand the world around me. And so cancer is obviously one of the most talked about diseases, or most talked about medical thing in the world right now. And so I decided to venture into the world of cell-based therapies for cancer because of my interest in cell-based therapies in general. And then I applied that to cancer as well. And so as I was choosing my topic, you had to read through at least 50 to 100 different research papers, fully understand what exactly are you dipping your toes into, dipping your feet into. And really that is where the best part of this experience was, definitely reading, getting exposed to research through and understanding the research because of what you were learning before. Because I can definitely tell you, prior to CCIR, if I were to open up a medical article, it would be very hard to understand what is happening. But because of CCIR, I was able to fully understand these articles, comprehend these articles, take in all of the information, and write a paper.
Just as the paper itself is probably a little bit too deep and too comprehensive to get into the nitty-gritty of, but I'm curious, sort of, as you were writing the paper, what were some of the things that really stood out to you that you learned?
Right. So again, one of the main things that stuck out to me is how this field can just keep on growing. So with the past 5-10 years is really when the cell-based therapies for cancer really started to emerge. And some of those therapies are CAR T-cell therapies, things such as tumor vaccines, checkpoint inhibitors, hematopoietic stem cells, dendritic cell therapies. All of these different cell therapies were already established 5-10 years ago, and research is ongoing for them. And what I found so interesting was in the past 2 years or 3 years alone, other technologies such as CRISPR, custody regularly and interspaced short palindromic repeats, this new technology, which has also been a very hot topic very recently, has been combined with stem cells. So there's a lot of different combinations of different technologies that are being used in this field as well. Even such things as mRNA vaccines, as we saw for COVID, very successful mRNA vaccines. So mRNA vaccines and stem cells or other cell-based therapies have also been combined. So there's different combinations, I guess you could say, of different technologies for cancer, which is very, very interesting.
Yeah, that is absolutely fascinating. So I want to slightly pivot here and talk a little bit more about sort of I suppose your research experience. One of the most difficult parts of the CCIR program is that the way in which the program is taught and the way that you're expected to learn is very, very different from the traditional classroom. Here, you're thrown into the deep end, you are expected to do self-directed research, and you're expected to work on a project. So I wonder, to begin, how you manage that transition, and also in this connection, it'd be great also to hear how your TA and your mentor might have helped you guide you through this process.
Right. So as you just mentioned right now, your TA and mentor is always there. You are not alone at all throughout this process. You always have your teaching assistant, you always have your mentor. In my case, I had Dr. Rakan, and their guidance and advice are one of the best things you can ever have. Your mentor and TA's advice. And in my case, my mentor and my TA really gave me advice on how to even start pinpointing a topic to select, and then how to really comprehend those articles and absorb what you need in order to create a paper, even while writing the paper, the structure of a paper, how it should be structured, how it should be formatted, what is the proper scientific, I guess you could say, way of writing, the stylistic writing of a science professional. All of these different factors. I was not alone in this. I had many guidance and advice. But that being said as well, it was very fun for me. And at times, you do struggle a little bit, but you do get through it. And it's very rewarding to get through those struggles and really learning on how to really write a paper, because there's so many things you can learn from that one experience. And it's really valuable to you. In my case, it was really valuable to me, as I definitely grew throughout my CCRA experience to a height where I can't even imagine I would be here a year ago.
That's really fantastic to hear. I wonder how, just to push this last point a little bit further, so as someone who from a fairly young age became extremely interested in science, how has this experience changed your understanding of what science is and what doing research is? And has this at all factored into your understanding of your relationship with science in the future?
Sure. So, as a child in elementary school or even early middle school, you think science is all you're in a lab in a dark environment, mixing up potions and whatnot. That childistic ideal is obviously not there anymore as I've grown older. And as I've grown older, I have really realized, for me at least, science is all about learning what's new, constant learning. Every single day when you're in science, you always learn something new, no matter how small, no matter how big, no matter how fascinating, groundbreaking, you are always learning something new, and you're always contributing to a bigger thing. So science has so many subsects, so many different fields, and more research that you do in those different fields, they all contribute to a greater understanding of science, a greater understanding of the world, right? Everything that we've discovered in the world so far has been through science, in my opinion. And so that's why I really feel like this view of science has only come because of what I have ventured into my venturing into the fact that research is written so intricately. There's data that exists. You have to really find experimental variables, your control groups, all these different things is something that I've learned, and it has definitely changed how I view the world. Just because now I view the world as science rules. Really, science is everything. That's what I think, at least.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, science does rule, so that's good to hear. Um, So wanted to also ask here about maybe your own future aspirations.
Mhm.
I'm curious, Atharva, at this stage, and not knowing is a perfectly good answer.
Yeah.
But do you have a sense of what you want to do?
So
Maybe in,
there
in college or beyond? Yeah.
As a freshman, I'm still very keen on opening up my options and exploring as much as I can because I don't want to limit myself. But that
Mhm.
being said, CCR has really shown me a way of research possibly in my future, contributing to specifically cancer research, definitely molecular biology, cell-based research is something that I want to aspire to be in somehow, some way, some relation to molecular biology is that's something I also want to say. That's something I would be.
Yeah, it sounds like you're incredibly passionate about science, and it sounds like that there's a lot of space for you to explore, and you're perfectly within your right to not know at this stage. It'd be, if anything, I think probably worse for you to think you know. But that's really fantastic to hear, Atharva.
Mhm.
Um, I think so. At this stage, we can slowly begin moving towards a wrap up. One
Sure.
question that I usually like to ask students as they are wrapping up the interview is research is, as you know, a laborious and intense experience. It can be very daunting, especially for a young person who's never done research before to do a program like CCIR. In your case, that's especially true since you were parachuted in as a freshman.
Mhm.
Um, but in light of your experiences, I wonder if there's anything you would like to say, you would say to prospective students who might be considering doing something like research, but who are maybe a bit afraid and a bit daunted by the prospect of the whole thing.
Right. So as you said, it can be daunting at times. It can appear very scary at times. You can get overwhelmed at times. But what I want prospective students to know is that it is extremely rewarding to go through these struggles, go through these experiences, because the experience that you gain from that can never be replaced by anything else, right? Of course, as a freshman, it did take me a long time to get my paper done to a scientific professional level. But at the end of the day, right, after writing my paper, after 6 months of really understanding science and trying my hardest every single day to making revisions to my paper, I had written a research paper, a review paper at age 15 on a topic that is one of the hottest topics in the world right now, cell-based therapies and cancer. And I have contributed somehow to this vast field. And so that feeling that you get is definitely irreplaceable. But aside from feeling, the knowledge that you really gain throughout this course can really help propel you to whatever you want to do in the future. Because right now, all of the knowledge I have gotten from my mentor and my TA, I can go in any scientific direction I want to right now with this knowledge. I really build up, I guess you can say, my foundation or my base in science in order to take a step forward in future aspirations. So this program is definitely a must if you want to build up a foundation or a base and really, although you might struggle, really build up something that's irreplaceable.
That's a fantastic answer, Atharva. And I completely agree with your assessment that um, this is just a really good way to that the hard work does pay off at the end of the
Right.
day, and it is something that's deeply rewarding. Well, with that, we have actually a fairly perfect note to end this interview on. So I want to say once more, Atharva, thank you so much for taking your time to do this interview today, and
Yes.
congratulations on all your success with your research project as well.
And thank you, Oliver, for interviewing me. Right, this was a really great experience for me to express what I've gone through in the 6 months at CCIR and really tell everyone about my experience in running a paper. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Atharva.